The 12 Moons are one of the most badass group of villains we have seen in anime in a long time, and the fact that they are so easy to understand is what honestly made Demon Slayer for me and for many fans. The fact that Tanjiro had to go through them all at one point in the story was very promising. Today we're going to be going over all of them, their goals, their blood demon art, and every single one of them. Also the reason why Muzan wanted to create them, and overall this is just gonna be an information dump kind of video. That being said, let us just get into it. So, what is the 12 Kizuki? Well, they are an organization of the 12 strongest beings amongst the demon kind, second in strength and authority only to the demon king himself, Muzan. Each member of the 12 Kizuki has received a large portion of Muzan's blood, greater than any other demon, thus increasing their power massively. As a testament to this, every member of the 12 Kizuki can use blood demon arts, a supernatural powers and techniques manifested through blood that only powerful demons have access to. The 12 Kizuki are divided into two groups, the 6 upper ranks numbered 1 through 6 and the 6 lower ranks also numbered 1 through 6. The number signifies their rankings among the 12 Kizuki, upper rank 1 being the strongest and lower rank 6 being the weakest. The lower ranks have their number and ranks engraved only into one eye, whereas the upper ranks have their numbers in one eye and the kanji for upper rank in the other eye. The upper ranks each possess a level of power that far surpasses that of the lower ranks. As proof of their strength, the strongest of the Demon Slayer Corps, the Hashira, have killed numerous lower ranks over the years, while the upper ranks have killed and eaten many Hashiras. Kake Obiyashiki says that it had been 100 years since an upper rank has been killed, following the defeat of Kyoto and Daki. While the lower ranks have been replaced countless times, the upper ranks did not change over the course of over 100 years. The 12 Kizuki have been given 3 tasks to complete by Muzan's command. 1. To find the blue spider lily, the key ingredient of the experimental medicine that made Muzan a demon. 2. The destruction of the Demon Slayer corpse. And 3. After over 100 years of failing at these 2 tasks, Muzan has decided that demons should serve him with suicidal devotion to ensure success. According to Kokushibo, Upper Moon 1, if there is any dissatisfaction between the same members of the upper rank demons, the lower ranked challenger must invoke the right to kill or defeat their desired target in order to change their position in the hierarchy. Anyone that defies this rule will face retribution, as seen in when Akasa attacked Doma, who was a higher rank than him, and Akasa had his arm sliced off by Kokushibo as a warning for disregarding the hierarchy order. After their most recent failure with the death of Rui, who was lower rank 5, Muzan decided to dismantle the lower ranks completely. He then proceeded to kill all of the lower ranks, sparing only Enmu, lower rank 1, giving him a chance to redeem himself by killing a Hashira and bringing him the head of Tanjiro. With Enmu's death by the hands of Tanjiro, the lower ranks are functionally disbanded with all of their members dead. Let us now get into the members of the lower moons. We're gonna do this as fast as possible, as honestly they're not that important. Starting with Gyokai, the former lower rank 6. Gyokai had a really interesting blood demon art, and it's funny how Muzan decided to give him a life after taking away his lower rank status. You would think he would have just killed him if it was no longer useful. Next up, we have the current or the former lower moon 6, Kamanue. Obviously, we do not know much about Kamanue except the fact that he was always on edge when he was on screen, suggesting that he had a nervous personality, and it would make sense as he was probably insecure about his rankings being the weakest of the 12 Kizuki. Next, we have lower moon 5, Rui, everyone's favorite child demon. Rui is honestly one of the most well-written villains in the entire series. He alone had more impact on our main character and us as an audience than the entire lower moons combined. Rui even had more impact than some upper moons. Due to being one of the 12 Kizuki, Rui is one of the strongest demons in existence. Evidence of his strength is further shown when he was able to easily overwhelm talented fighters like Tanjiro and kill multiple of demon slayers with ease. Despite holding the second lowest position in the 12 Kizuki, Rui possessed the same skill as lower rank 1 and lower rank 2. And similar to Muzan, Rui can augment and strengthen a fellow demon's overall power and give them access to new spider-related abilities by giving him a drop of his own blood, having done so in order to strengthen each and every one of his quote-unquote family, who were all originally very weak demons. Rui's blood demon art allows him to create these threads from his own cells and manipulate them however he pleases. He typically extends the threads from his fingertips like a puppet master. Due to this, the threads Rui manipulates are extremely durable and sharp, being capable of cutting as well as nurturing swords and blocking strikes from them as well. Rui can further amplify their strength and durability by pumping his blood through them, giving them a blood red color. Rui has displayed terrifying proficiency in utilizing his threats for combat purposes, making use of the environment to spawn a barrage of string attacks or manifest unavoidable web technique to trap and slice his opponents into pieces. Rui was one demon that Muzan had expected great things from. He could have very well become an upper moon in the future. Next up at lower moon 4 we have Mukako. Out of all the lower ranks, Mukako was shown to be the most cowardly, as stated by Muzan through reading her thoughts. Mukako had no intention of battling the Demon Slayer corpse's Hashira and planned to flee at the mere mention of one, noted to have done so numerous times in the past. When Muzan learned of this, Mukako attempted to appease him and beg for mercy before she finally met her doom. Moving on swiftly to lower moon 3 we have Wakuraba. Out of the lower ranks, Wakuraba was shown to be one of the most loyal to Muzan. Despite the fact that Muzan was brutally executing two of his fellow lower ranks, he thought only about improving himself to live up to Muzan's expectations and win back his favor. However, Wakuraba appeared to believe in self-preservation above all else and was not just blindly obedient to Muzan. He didn't wish to be killed by him, even though he clearly usually respected his leader's decisions, running away upon realizing that Muzan had no intention of letting any of the lower ranks be left alive. The later attempt he did at escaping was honestly breathtaking in the anime. At lower moon 2 we have Rokuro. As with the other lower ranks, Rokuro both respected and feared Muzan as his leader. After almost every lower rank had been killed by Muzan, Rokuro was visibly scared that the same would happen to him and resorted to begging his leader for more blood and increase his strength so he wouldn't die, showing quite a cowardly demeanor. Despite this, however, Rokuro appeared to be very confident in the potential of his abilities as a demon, since he claimed that if he received just a little more of Muzan's blood, he could definitely become a strong fighter worthy of being in the ranks of the 12 Kizuki, which showed he had a great resolve and passion for his role, but that did not matter with Muzan, as he eventually would meet his end too. And finally, rounding up the lower moons, we have Enmu, lower moon 1, the sadistic, pain-loving psychopath. Enmu was a very sadistic in personality, as was noted to enjoy the pain and sufferings of humans. His favorite method of torment being giving them a happy and pleasant dream before turning it into a nightmare. He took a pleasure in the suffering of others, enjoying the agonized expressions they made as he tortured them. This sadism even extends to his fellow demons, as he relished seeing his fellow lower ranks being killed right in front of his eyes. As well as sadism, Enmu is shown to exhibit a masochistic behavior, expressing positive reaction to the pain inflicted on him. This enjoyment, however, seems to be limited to those he only respects and holds himself loyal to. Enmu's blood demon art grants him the ability to force anyone into sleep. He can do this through different means, some more subtle than the others, but all effectively leaving his foes vulnerable and unable to fight. This state of sleep is, however, not perfect, as Enmu carefully preferred to stay away from demon slayers out of fear that his bloodlust could awake them, although he is far less cautious against normal human targets. Let us next get into the upper moon, starting with upper moon 6, Kyoto and Daki. Now, I have made an incredibly thorough videos about the two separately, and on those videos you will find an in-depth explanation of these two if you are interested. But nonetheless, let's talk about them briefly, starting with Daki. Daki is a very prideful, dismissive, and sadistic person, taking enjoyment in toying with her victims before killing them, and not showing the slightest bit of guilt or remorse for apathetically taking the lives of people. Daki also seems to think very highly of herself, dismissing all non-Hashira demon slayers as not worth her time, and getting incensed when Tanjiro spoke to her, presumably because she looks down on him. This is also shown when Daki says that she might spare Tanjiro if he tells her how many demon slayers are present in the entertainment district, and when Daki openly expresses how slow the demon slayer's techniques are and her boredom, further exemplifying her arrogant and dismissive personality. Daki's blood demon art allows her to create flower-patterned OB sashes from her flesh, as well as freely manipulating them at will. She often creates these sashes from her back and retracts them back into her body when not in use. In combat, Daki uses her OB slashes as powerful and fast tendril-like whips to unleash long-range interweaving attacks, while also being able to use it to form a shield around her body if need be, making her blood demon art an extremely effective blend of offense and defense. As we found out, the real owner of the rank upper moon 6 was Kyoto all along. So let's talk about Kyoto. Having lived over 100 years and battled many demon slayers and Hashira, Gyutaro has become somewhat arrogant and prideful in combat, developing the habit of underestimating his opponents and looking down on them as beneath him, just like he did with the team of demon slayers dispatched to kill him by having his sister fight and deal with them first rather than himself. Kyotaro's blood demon art allows him to manipulate his own body's blood in various ways. He is shown to generate them for his flesh kama or from open wounds on his body or release blood at will from his veins. In combat, he usually creates barrages of solidified sickle-shaped blood as sharp as blades that can travel at immensely fast speeds to attack his opponents. Gyutaro is capable of freely manipulating these blood slashes at will, altering their movements until they hit his opponents or shaping them however he pleases. Furthermore, his blood sickles are coated in deadly poison. Next up, we have Upper Moon 5 Kyoko. Kyoko is depicted to be a short-tempered, shallow, and arrogant, especially when it comes to things regarding his art, as seen when he was easily enraged by Michiro when Michiro began to insult and make fun of the quality of his art, and through his conversation with the Hashira, constantly praising himself as beautiful, and his work even more so, further reinforcing his arrogant and narcissistic personality. His arrogance was most prominently displayed after he was beheaded by Michiro, referring to the Miss Hashira as an inferior and lower life form, while calling himself a superb and the chosen being. He has also shown himself to be incredibly petty and jealous, as seen when he attacked and mutilated Hotaru, due to his jealousy over how focused Hotaru could be and dedicated to his work. Kyoko's blood demon art revolves around his porcelain faces. He can presumably spawn them anywhere within his vicinity and create multiple bots of varying sizes at once. Kyoko first displayed the ability to freely teleport from one bot to another very quickly, offsetting his lack of legs and allowing him to travel for distances with minimal efforts. Kyoko can also trap objects such as people inside his bots, and if the object he wishes to seal is too big, the bots can simply compress them to fit inside. At Upper Moon 4, we have Antennku, this old fart. He honestly is such an underrated demon, and he has 6 different forms, and each form is an emotion within him. His final form, called Sekiru, is all those forms added together and the emotions all put together, thus being the most powerful within his forms. Let's talk about his real form and base form. This is the real Antennku, this old man. Antennku's primary form has a persona of cowardice. He was easily frightened by what occurred in his surroundings, showing traits of paranoia, fear, and delusion. He was always shown to cry out in fear at even the most insignificant things. This is especially evident in the fact that he always chooses to crawl instead of walking up straight. Antennku also seems to believe he is completely innocent despite the obvious evidence pointing towards his numerous crimes as a human. Even as a demon, killing and eating scores of innocent people, he still stubbornly and delusionally believes that he was innocent. Antennku's blood demon art allows him to manifest his emotions as powerful younger clones of himself with their own unique appearance, personalities, and abilities. These clones are personifications of a certain emotion Antennku has felt before and mainly display that emotion. Each one is identified by a kanji tattoo on their tongue, labeling their core emotion. Antennku can control these clones however he sees fit, though he usually lets them act on their own will. Next up, holding the upper rank 3, we have Akasa. As mentioned by Shinobu, Upper Moon 3 to 1 cannot be defeated by a single Hashira, meaning these guys' strengths are out of this world. Akasa is a strong, stubborn, and battle-crazed social Darwinist who enjoys fighting, especially against strong demon slayers. He purposefully drew out fights so as to savor every moment of it, also complimenting his opponents when they unleash strong techniques or land blows on him, usually remarking that their techniques and swordsmanship are magnificent and intriguing. Akasa looked down on anybody he deemed weak, so much that his skin would crawl at the sight of them. However, he genuinely respected those who were strong in his eyes. Akasa also doesn't discriminate strong warriors that were weak before, as shown when he praises and complimented Tanjiro despite knowing how weak Tanjiro was during their first encounter, even going so far as to thank Kyoto for Tanjiro's growth. Akasa's blood demon art takes the form of a martial arts that combines shockwave-like attacks and his Soryu style he mastered when he was human. These shockwaves Akasa manipulates are blue in color and can take on many forms such as nigh invisible air pressure, flowing streams, or cannon-shaped spikes. In combat, Akasa has his shockwaves accompany his own punches and kicks to amplify its destructive capabilities. Next up, holding the rank of Upper Moon 2 and the second strongest within the Upper Moons, we have Doma. Doma is outwardly friendly, possessing an approachable and charismatic air, and described to talk and act in a calm and carefree manner. However, it is soon revealed that Doma has a psychopathic tendency, adopting sick beliefs and habits like ruthlessly and happily murdering and devouring his cult's followers and young women under the belief that he is saving them from their suffering by letting them quote-unquote live inside his body. Under his carefree and unassuming demeanor, Doma is a cold and calculating individual that possesses extremely keen intellect. His high intelligence may be the reason why he looks down on humans, genuinely believing that they are pathetic and stupid, to the point where he cried out of pity for them. And of course, we know that cries were fake because Doma is not capable of feeling any emotion. Doma's blood demon art grants him extremely powerful cryokinesis. He can generate ice and frost from his flesh and blood and can spawn it anywhere within his vicinity, as well as manipulating it at will, allowing him to unleash incredibly potent ice techniques. Additionally, the ice created from his blood demon art is extremely lethal to those that inhale it, causing the cells of the victim's lungs to die and rendering them unable to breathe very quickly. And finally, the strongest without a doubt Upper Moon demon in the series, we have the majestic and dignified Kokushibo. Kokushibo was often very reserved as a demon and with such little knowledge about the upper ranks, and not much was originally known about him. He was an adamant rule follower, punctual, and he showed a great deal of respect to the hierarchy of the 12 Kisuki, as seen at the upper ranks gathering when he cut off Akasa for disrupting that. Kokushibo was portrayed to be humble as well, and he did not hesitate to admit his failure or complain of any difficulty. He displayed a strong sense of loyalty towards Muzan, with most of his actions being done with the sole purpose of fulfilling Muzan's goals. Complementing his combat style, moon breathing, his blood demon art allows him to create and manipulate dozens of sharp blades shaped like traditional crescent moons from his flesh katana. These crescent moon blades are extremely chaotic, constantly changing in size, length, and speed, making Kokushibo's attacks extremely unpredictable and unreadable, as they have no set pattern. This blood demon art greatly enhances the power of his techniques, making every single one of his sword swings extremely deadly and dangerous. He also seems to be capable of using his blood demon art as long as his katana is unsheathed, just like we saw in the latest episode of Demon Slayer when the Upper Moons fight and these Hachiras take them on. It is honestly going to be breathtaking, and without a doubt, at least for me, this is what made this series for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, definitely like the video and let me know what you guys thought of this down in the comments. That being said, until next time.